I'm not sure how this is going to come out, but I'm just going to show you. With this poncho I've got on here, right, what you can do, I've got all my rucksack underneath. So I've unclipped it inside, so I'll put my hands back inside and just literally pull it off inside and shelter and yank it up like that. And out it comes, nice and easy. So to put the rucksack back on again with your poncho, just reverse procedure. So it really, really works and kept it nice and dry. And I'm going to keep this poncho on. It's also a good, it's a bit like wearing, having that shelter on my life system, so it sort of keeps you warm and keeps the wind off. So it's got two blessings really. It's waterproof, and yeah, my body's alright, I think. Just feeling now. Yeah, I'm not wet. I'm very, very slightly damp, but you know, a little bit of sweat. I'm not actually sweated bad like I used to when I wore my tight waterproof. The only thing is about this one is that when you're actually pulling on Dartmoor, it's so windy, the whole thing's flapping around like Batman suit. So it is noisy. It's like a tent flapping in the wind. So it might be a good idea, perhaps, on the bottom of these, you've got grommet hose here, and maybe for this you could run a very, very light bit of cord through and just gently tie it around your waist or whatever, just to keep it from flapping around, because it really does flap mad. And also my arms are very slightly damp, not because of leakage, but when you put your hand through the hole on here, if I can find it now, there it is. When you put your hand through here, sometimes it rides up a bit when it's windy, or you get the gap underneath here, so when it's really windy. So what you can do is just hold it as you're running, like this, on both hands with the glove on. That's what I did, keep it from coming off. I found that this sometimes for me, which is it's waterproof, it's really good. My baseball cap's done very well, nothing wrong with it, but sometimes it pulls down a bit, so I actually put the draw cord toggle in my mouth for a while just to keep it in place, because it's annoying me a bit. But and the conditions were bad. It was very, very windy. In fact, it is very windy, very, very wet, and very hard going. So if I just stand up a minute, so that's the suit. That's what it looks like. Giant poncho. It's really, really good so far. Just looking underneath at the material. Yeah, I mean, considering the rain I've had to endure, and considering the wind and the circumstances with it, I mean, it's done alright. For Dartmoor, so far, it survived the worst of the worst. We've had the worst flooding up here, I think, or the second worst I've ever known. Coupled with wind and as well the gales, I think it's done pretty well. And obviously I've still got to go back home yet. This is on my yellow jacket. There's a very slight dampness there, but you know, by no means do I feel uncomfortable. Just on the top of my yellow Carrymore jacket, underneath I've got my warm arm length running winter top, and underneath that a thin nylon t-shirt, yellow t-shirt for running. And I feel okay. I don't feel cold. I don't feel sticky and nasty and sweaty, and I need to change my clothes not sticking to my back or anything. So for the purpose of why I've got this was to keep me dry, or rather to stop me sweating so much when I'm running. So Dartmoor is the extreme case of it's kept me dry. I'm very, very slightly damp on the top bit of clothing, but you know, you can't really complain about that considering the circumstances what I've had to go through with this weather. And I think it will be very, very most suitable for running generally along roads and in not such windy conditions. I think it'd be more than adequate to keep me dry and to stop me sweating which is the reason why I bought it. So this one is made by Anyoo. There's the name there. I mean, there's lots of brands around. This particular one is 210p. So whatever that means, I think it's to do with the tear strain on it. It's nylon. You can see the little. Can't quite make it out on there, can you really? Tiny little squares where it's reinforced. So it's done a good job. The hood is good as well. It comes right over your head. I've got a baseball cap on, obviously. Coupled with that, my head's fine. It's really, really good. So that's about it, really. That's my review on this particular what do you call it? Poncho. It does actually open up. If you want to, you can actually unsnap it, the poppers, and make a sort of shelter. But I've looked at the poppers when I put it together, and they seem very, very. I can't find one here. Let me knock it up here. Where am I? Over there. So the material, because of the material, it's very, very gentle and delicate. I'm very reluctant to pull them apart unless I tear the material, and it shouldn't, of course, because this is nylon. So I think if you're going to take it apart, you need to be very careful to get your fingernails in or something, just to gently prise it apart without actually tearing the material or damaging it. So yeah, that's my review on this poncho. Tested in extreme weather on Dartmoor, very windy, with copious amounts of rain and severe flooding, and I would give it a pretty good rating. I don't know what rating I would give it at the moment. I'll have to think about that when I get back. But I should mark it out what I've rated it at out of 10.
So here's a view. This is on a poncho, waterproof poncho by Anyoo, something like that. Tried and tested today on Dartmoor in horrendous conditions of heavy rain, well certainly continuous driving rain and strong winds, atrocious conditions which you will see in the other video. So this particular item did the job of which I wanted it for, which is to keep me dry from the rain, but also to stop me from getting wet from sweat. So let's get closer to it. So it comes in a pouch. That's the size, 320 grams, between 300 and 320 grams. And without a doubt, this is the kind of thing I'm going to keep in my running rucksack all the time now, even more so than the normal waterproofs, because this one will last a good few hours and keep me reasonably, well, stop me from sweating so much. Now the material, ideally, also the material on this particular pouch that comes into the same material as the actual poncho. So it's strong, very, very strong and tough, very, very tough nylon-y material. It's polyester, but I don't even see, yeah, you can just about see it there. It's crossed through with this strong material, like a thread that goes through it. As you can see, the material shining there in the light, you can just about see the pattern on it there from the ripstock on it. It's 210T. It's polyurethane, I believe, PU, and it really is waterproof. So if I open it back out again, basically, as you can see from the hood there, basically, if I just focus out a bit here, it's a giant sort of rectangle, really. There it is. So if you go to the hood first of all, the hood is excellent. It's got a draw cord here, pulls up tight, got a good tough top with a lip on it, and it snugs on your head, and with a baseball cap on, it is very good for keeping the wind and the rain out. Excellent job. Also, on the design of this, you've got these grommets along the sides here on all corners, and if you wanted to, you could open it right up by taking the poppers off here, unpopping them, and you could tie string on these and attach it to a tree or whatever as a shelter. So that's pretty good. Now, what you also need to do is when you're actually using this particular thing, your arms go through here, and you grip hold of this to keep your hands or from your arms from getting wet. So I'm going to keep mine always popped up. And the same with the other side as well. Your arms will come through here, as you'll see in the video of the real life experience. So it's really very good. It's full length. It comes right down to your knees, and it is a very good item for running in the rain on Dartmoor. What you do need to do, mind, is it's like a bag, and so it just flaps around copiously in the wind. So probably I will have to get some kind of device where I can put a small piece of cord or something gently through the grommets here and around my waist, perhaps on a sort of like a bungee cord sort of setup, just to keep it from flapping around, because it really does flap around like a tent, like a parachute. But it is very good. So that's the one there, and there's your logo there, Anyoo. I'm sure there are lots of other brands around, but this one is very good. And I think, to be honest, it's one of the best investments I've had so far on running equipment. The other thing is it's very light, obviously, and also it serves a lot of retaining heat properties. If you can keep it from flapping around all the time, this here does actually retain the heat in your body. If you stay still somewhere out of the wind and it's not flapping around, you can feel the temperature building up inside in your body, on your clothes and that, which is really good for the winter. So not only is it waterproof, but you can actually feel it, your body warming up if it's cold and you're out of the wind. So it really is very good. And also, of course, you can put your rucksack on the back, as you see in the other video, and keeps you dry, keeps the gear going, and it's excellent. Folds out really small. I'm just using one hand here, right? So even just one hand, I can get it down to, that size, just with one hand. So it doesn't take up much space. So that's a Poncho review, and hope you found it helpful.